Alright everybody, this will be a warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024, part 16 I believe. This one's going to deal with housing and rebuilding urban neighborhoods. You've all heard the promises, and you know, Trump's got some out there now. I don't know if they're being acted on about like economic zones and stuff like this. Clinton did that too. I remember when they came through Phoenix and went down Buckeye and all that, said, you know, we're going to make these economic zones and things are going to turn around and this and that. Not much happened. I remember they built a new Jack in the Box in a neighborhood that really, there was nothing but like liquor stores and one, if you want to call it a truck stop. It was kind of like Crime Central. You didn't go there except for like the middle of the day, you know, to maybe grab a soda or something. If you unloaded in the area and you got the hell out of there, you didn't spend a night down there unless you were looking for whores or drugs or whatever. It was just, and it's still bad. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still bad down on Buckeye. But so you got all these neighborhoods that have been decimated, look like war zones stuff in our cities. You have places where businesses, I mean, I went through Baltimore not too long ago, parts of Baltimore. You got buildings that have burned, that are falling down. You know, some are residential, some were businesses and stuff like this. How long has that been like that? For a long time. Because I know I've been through neighborhoods like that, and year after year after year, it doesn't matter what politician gets in office, they're still there. So instead of doling out $1,000 a month to everybody in the country like the one guy wanted to do, and instead of, you know, spending all this money on convicts in prison, like I said, we're going to make being a law-abiding citizen attractive and being a criminal unattractive. So if you look at what we spend in foreign aid and other places and stuff, and if it's good to spend money there, hey, I'll still be up for that, but we're going to make sure changes are being made for the benefit of that nation's people and not just going into people's pockets. Because I think a lot of this money that, you know, presidents and Congress and stuff sign bills for, nobody follows up on it. It just goes and fills somebody's pocket somewhere, and nothing really gets done. So, and then people say, well, how are you going to pay for all this? Well, that's another thing. Here's your school project here. Yeah, you can say we're in all this debt and everything like that, but and like I said about going to, you know, a cashless society, paper money, it's got no intrinsic value. There is no gold standard no more. It's been off the gold standard for a long time. In the 70s, it kind of became a petrodollar. It was based off of oil. We made deals with the oil exporting countries. You trade oil in U.S. dollars, and only U.S. dollars. That's our currency. You can spend American currency anywhere around the world. You can't spend foreign currency in this country because the exchange rates and everything don't make it worth it anyway. And so you got to understand money, the deal with the Federal Reserve and all this and everything. If you do it right, you don't need the centralized bank and all this, and you don't need these high taxes and things like this. If you only print so much money per year and put it out into the system to cover, you know, social projects or public works and things like this, and necessities and stuff, everything's fine. It's not you're not creating inflation. It's when you go overboard and you flood, you know, you keep printing all this money, and then especially because we print it, right? But basically it's stamped with the Federal Reserve as a Federal Reserve note. So it's a centralized bank, and they're the ones who distribute the money and all this and everything. And so when you get a loan from your bank, they're getting a loan from the Federal Reserve, that centralized bank is getting rich, then so we print all this money, we give it to them, they loan it back to the government, we pay interest on our own currency to the Federal Reserve, and all this stuff. And if you go back and you look, there was no income tax, no federal income tax, until the Federal Reserve System started. And the reason that income tax started was so we could pay the interest on our own money. Now Congress, nobody wants to deal with Federal Reserve and questions about it and what they get away with and everything. So we will take a long, hard look at that. But just your homework is, for the basics, just go on Google things about fiat currency, the Federal Reserve, go on YouTube, look at the countless videos by people. There's one guy named, oh hell, I can't remember his name now. Mike something or other. He has plenty of videos on YouTube about the history of the Federal Reserve, the history of money, and all this. Watch some of those. So people say, "Oh, you're gonna spend all this money and put us in debt." Well, look, I want to ask you a question out there, and I'm not saying I would take the foreign aid away from Mexico, but we give them $180 million a year, whatever it is. How many homes in one of these decimated neighborhoods do you think could be rebuilt for $180 million? Right? You got these blocks in these neighborhoods, there's nobody living there, the homes are burned out, some of them have already been demolished, there's just an empty lot. We go in there, we build good homes, modern homes, energy efficient homes, and we don't gentrify and bring outside people in to move in these homes. We go to the block right next door. We tell these people, look here, we got these new homes. You can move into these new homes. It's going to be a low-cost mortgage. You're not going to be paying what other people are paying in other parts of the country. You know, you're going to be paying, you know, I'll throw a number out there, you're going to pay $400 a month. Well, they'll never pay it back at that rate. Follow me through. Part of the agreement is to move into that new home, you sign a pledge. No gangs, no drugs, no illegal guns, and a commitment that you'll keep that home for at least 5 years and stay in that neighborhood at least 5 years. You're not going to build much equity at $400 a month, whatever. So if you want to sell, then whatever, you know, it's going to depend on what the market is and if people want to move in there, things like that. But at least for 5 years, you're going to keep that house. It's not just going to be, we're going to give you a house and you're going to sell it and walk away with you know, a pocket full of cash and go wherever. It's not going to work that way. Because then you'd be selling those homes for less than market value and the neighborhood would probably become gentrified. So here's the deal. You might not be able to pay all that money back, but if you want to keep that neighborhood together, we used to keep neighborhoods together. People knew each other on the block and everything. It wasn't this, you know, your first home, you buy it, you sell it for the equity, and then you move off. That's the thing. People then they move off to a better neighborhood, whatever. But unless you got a job transfer or something like that or whatever, you agree to keep the house for 5 years. And if you stay in the house, you know, until your death, because, I mean, it's not going to matter if you're 50 or 60 years old and you get one of these houses. You sign it, you make sure it's signed down to your children or your one of your children or one of your grandchildren, whatever. They can live in it, they can pay. Eventually the money will be paid back to the government one way. We'll look at if it's sold, how much of it has to come back towards the mortgage. Do the next people who move into the house, if you sell it, do they still get the low cost mortgage payment? But that's the way we'll do it. We'll find this one block that's decimated, nothing but empty lots and burned out houses there. We'll knock them all down. We'll build new houses. We'll go over to the next block or 2 blocks over, wherever it is that there are people living in poor conditions in that neighborhood. It's a rundown neighborhood. You get first dibs on these houses. You got to sign a pledge, though. No gangs, no drugs, no illegal guns. Sign that pledge. And we'll make sure there's a new school in the neighborhood, too. Streets will be redone. The sidewalks will be redone. It'll be a neighborhood you can be proud of. And it'll be up to you, the citizens who live there, to keep it nice. There'll be a park, whatever. With $180 million, a couple blocks at a time, we can rebuild a lot of these neighborhoods. And the money's not a problem, because actually, technically, unless it's gold or silver, money doesn't exist. It's paper, it's fiat. It might as well all be digital. If you study about what money is, what it used to be, what it is now, there's really nothing backing it now, because we just saw that with the oil prices went way down and everything. The dollar didn't collapse, all this stuff. So there's a lot of hocus pocus with a lot of things about money, and we'll have to work all those things out. And for like the Federal Reserve and this and the World Bank, and no, I'm not saying we're going to throw all of you under the bus. We're going to figure out an equitable way, a monetary system for the whole world, where you bankers can still make, money in your industry, a reasonable interest, reasonable fees. And that's another thing about going to a cashless society and everything being on a debit. There'll be no more of this. Some of these banks play games with overdraft and stuff. And, so like your check is sitting there. It's been direct deposited, or you dropped it off at the bank. And, it was there first. But instead of them putting it in your account, that they're going to wait so many hours or a day or whatever for it to clear. And then in comes these checks you wrote, or these debits you made and stuff. You think you got money in the bank, you go out and make these debits, and then checks come in. Next thing you know, and they clear them in a certain way too. Let's say you got $500, but you do have $500 in your account. Your paycheck's $1,000. So, and you've got, your mortgage coming out or whatever, that's, $800, then all these other things. Well, they won't put your check in. They'll process that big thing. So now it's like there's no money in your account, and then they'll pile on all the other ones. And next thing you go, if they'd done it in an opposite fashion, and then they tried to clear the mortgage payment last or whatever, they cleared all those smaller ones. All right, it didn't equal $500, it equaled $450. And then if they tried to do your mortgage, you get one overdraft charge that way. But no, they do it the opposite way. They try and clear the mortgage thing first, or whatever's going to eat up all that $500 you got in there. And then you got 7 other little things that could have been paid easily, but now they're not going to be paid. Now they're going to charge you $7 on those, or $10 on each of those overdrafts. So now you owe them $70 or whatever. Then they put your check in, then they take out all those overdrafts and stuff. And it can be an endless thing. There's going to be no more of that either. No more of that. Whatever goes in, whatever gets there first, that's, if it's a credit to your account, it's a credit to your account. You're going to have to worry about that no more. You're not going to have to worry about bouncing checks, because it's going to be a debit card and automatic drafts, things like that. If you don't have the funds in there and you're at the store and you use that card, it's just going to say right there, no, not enough funds. You're going to have to put something else on, put something back on the shelves, something. But anyhow, and so I say this, the United States of America, don't tell me we can't rebuild neighborhoods, that there's some bullshit reason we can't rebuild neighborhoods. I would much rather spend, like I've said through this whole thing, much rather spend money that will benefit all of us and help the country and give people a future than to spend it on convicts and all this other kind of crap. I'm done crying for people who can't get with the program. I'm sorry. So we'll rebuild neighborhoods. They'll be your neighborhoods. You know, it's not going to be public housing. It's going to be your home. Your home. Just sign a pledge. No gangs, no drugs, no illegal guns, you know, whatever else we think of. What, you know, and no, it's not going to be like, you know, oh, if something happens, you know, we're going to come in there and take your home from you because whatever. It would have to be serious violations, like you're using it as a crack house or something. You understand? But we can rebuild our neighborhoods, no problem, and give people a stake in their own future and in America's future. It's a lot cheaper route than endless welfare, here's your check, no one cares what you do with it, go buy your dope, whatever. Do you see how I'm saying? It'd be more cost effective and wise to do that than hand everybody a check every month. Here's a home, here's your stake, here's your neighborhood. We want to keep it a safe neighborhood, a good neighborhood. Your kids can grow up. You know, you can teach people, you know, to lose this thug attitude. You know who benefits from all that? The rap artists. Snoop Dogg, everybody else, the drug culture and all them. They're not going to do time. Once in a while, one of them gets time for doing something. But they're living high on the hog. You're buying their music, all this and everything. You're following their words, their mantra. They're your guru to some extent. They are your religious scholar. They are your hero to some degree and stuff. You're out there living the gang-banging life or doing drugs, whatever it is, living off the hook. Hate everybody, don't be a part of society, all that kind of crap. Well, we're going to make it more attractive for you to be a part of society, to have a place you can call your own, to call your own home, to raise your children in. It'll be low cost. All you're going to have to do is pay your utilities, get a job, and be a part of society. It's a lot better than just handing out money month after month after month after month to people who have no stake whatsoever in their neighborhoods or for anything to do with society. You're doing people more harm that way than good. Making drugs legal and you're going to give them money and all this. All right, so the rest of us get to go bust our asses, try to raise our families, and then you have a bunch of people you're going to give money to who are going to sit on their asses, smoke weed, and eat Twinkies. Does that sound fair, America? Does that sound like the way to go? I don't think so. And I think a lot of people, especially in the African American community, don't think so either. I think instead of getting a check in legal weed, they would rather have their neighborhood fixed, have a decent home to live in, and raise their children in. That's what I think. Because most of the black guys I know, just like the white guys I know, they work hard, they want a future, they're not into drugs and all that and everything like that. They want decent neighborhoods. They want a life. So we can rebuild these neighborhoods. We can change the mindset of young people no matter what color they are. Look here. It's so much better no matter what you do in life. If you live an honest life and you work and you raise your family, we're going to make things fair. We're going to make things fair in taxes and everything like that. And like I said, there's no reason for all these taxes. Use taxes, yes, for you drive on the road, we got to have a tax to pay for that and everything. But all these other things, the government just used to print so much money per year. That's it. And as long as they didn't overprint, there was no inflation, there was no flooding, the market and the value of the currency go down and all this and everything. Just take some time. Learn about money. So That would be one of the things of my presidency. I would have smart money people around me, people who know other systems other than what we have now with the Federal Reserve and the centralized banks and things like that. But like I said, we're not going to pull the rug out from under anybody's feet. We will find a way to where we can have a system that is fair for everybody and not upset the cart too much all at once or whatever. But we'll set down some goals for what we're going to work towards, and we'll make those goals known to the public, and we'll make them understand, look, this is the direction you should go in. This is what we should work on, no matter what administration takes over after, or down the line. So you're an educated population about these things. That's what says civics and economics and things like this. You got to teach them. You got to teach them in grade school and stuff, and managing money, and being a good citizen, and to stay away from things that are detrimental. We got to get drug and alcohol resistance teaching back in all the schools. We got to have celebrities come out, whether they're athletes, whoever they are, come out and start saying, look, we got to turn things around. Not just whenever there's a tragedy like this shooting. You got to be in those communities. You can't just go blow in, do a speech someplace, some college or something, and then blow back out and talk about, funds need to go here and this and that. Like I said, we'll make it. You can make a charitable. You went to PS whatever in the city. Guess what? You can make a charitable donation right to that school, enough to pay for computers in there, whatever it is. The money is there. The talent, the innovation, everything else is there to do these things in America. It's not impossible. Everything is there except for the motivation, the will to do it. We just got to do it, and make sure that the money is not just, here you go, state of California, here's $1 billion. We want neighborhoods rebuilt. We want the freeways. Here's the money. 2 years later, you go down and nothing's done. Well, what happened to the money? Well, we spent it on this, that, and the other thing, and all these people, these advisors, and city council members, and people like that, and the lawyers, they all got rich. You didn't do one thing. You didn't rebuild a neighborhood. You didn't, fix the congestion. Well, no. We need more money. It's not going to go like that no more. It just ain't going to go like that no more. Same with foreign aid. How long have we been giving you money, Mexico? How long have we been giving you money? What have you done with it? What have you done with it? Same thing Trump's saying, basically. A lot of people feel the same way. What are we getting for it? Year after year after year after year after year, while our country's falling apart, we're giving money overseas to all these people. What are we getting for it? Spend all this money on these convicts, and year after... One of the guys who shot Officer Dorn in St. Louis, and if you don't know about that, you need to look it up. Look at the video. Anyway, apparently he'd been arrested before, should have got sentenced for like 7 years or whatever, got probation. Got arrested a couple times after that, broke his probation, stuff and everything, and now here it is. He's one of the guys for the murder of a 77-year-old man, African-American man, who served his community as a police officer. And why if he was working just because he wanted something to do, hey, I understand that. People not everybody doesn't think about sitting in a rocking chair watching the sunset every night. They still like to do stuff, to be active. But if he was working because he had to support himself and his wife, and he served his community all those years as a police officer, that's atrocious. That's a tragedy. He shouldn't have to be working at 77 years old. serving his community like that as a police officer. So we're going to look into what the pensions and stuff are for officers. We're going to look into all that stuff. Same thing, you look at all these nursing homes, and it was no shock to me that there was people dying in nursing homes. I've had relatives, my ex-sister-in-law, she worked in nursing homes and stuff, and things she used to tell me, I knew other people who had worked in nursing homes, and we've all seen the horror stories, the reports on the news over the years, elderly people being beaten, elderly people laying in their own feces, elderly people with bed sores, elderly people not getting their medication, all these things from these nursing home things and stuff. There's a company out there, and they might be a very good company, so I'm not knocking them. But the way they advertise, is a place for mom or something like that. And every time I'd hear it, yeah, okay, a place for mom. I know what nursing homes are like. Lots of. Do you want to sponge bathe old people who can't move around or change their bedpans and things like that and everything? It's not an attractive job. So you got to think most of the people who get those jobs are not qualified to be left alone with people who can't fend for themselves. There are a lot of nursing homes like that. You're looking at a lot of people who've been in trouble with the law, getting straight out of jail and stuff like this. Here you go. Here's a job in a nursing home. Shouldn't have those jobs. You need trained, caring people working in those places. But a lot of them are run and everything like that. It's just to get the money. Get the money through Medicaid, whoever pays for it. It's a place just to forget about the elderly in a lot of cases. They're not very clean, a lot of them. So it was no surprise that COVID was taking a lot of elderly people in those places. So we have to think about educating our public, educating the youth. This living off the hook, and I'm just going to smoke weed and do whatever and all this and everything, just ain't going to cut it. Ain't going to cut it. I'm going to be a career criminal. Ain't going to cut it. We're not taking it no more. We're not putting up with it no more. It is 2020. We're not going to live in the past no more. Not going to live in the past. Like I said, when I left Jersey, went down to Florida, all I heard from white guys down there is about, I'm one of them Yankees and this and that, and all this kind of stuff, and the South's gonna do it again and everything like this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was, Civil War stuff, and I'm like, are you kidding me? We don't spend our time up north, talking about shit that happened 150 years ago, man. What the hell? What are you talking about? And it was the same thing with some of the African Americans, and slavery this and slavery. What are you talking? Why are you still, man? Yeah, it was a bad thing. It was a rotten thing. We had a civil war over it. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of white people died fighting to end it. Thousands upon thousands more ended up handicapped, having their arms sawed off with no painkiller, or their legs with a hacksaw, with no painkillers, until opium made it here. And then they thought that, that was a heaven sent. So, for things like that and everything, yeah, there's a place for drugs. But, they used to give them some whiskey and a rag to bite on. Here you go. Hold them down. 6 guys to hold them down. A guy takes a saw and starts on your leg. Can you imagine that? Can you freaking imagine that? But that's white people went through that to end slavery. Get any credit for it? Nope. Ever hear Al Sharpton or anybody go up there to the Gettysburg? Anything? To any of the cemeteries? Give a word. Hey, we understand. You all fought to end slavery, and you're not all racist. Nope, never seen anything like that. But a lot of those soldiers who fought, Once you had your limbs amputated, you couldn't go back to farming. That was it. You lost everything you owned too. Didn't have all these benefits we got now for veterans, and they're lacking too in a lot of ways, but you didn't have squat back then. So let's quit living in the past. Let's put the real truth out there about everything, back then, if you want. That, this country's wealth and most of the white people here didn't come until after the world wars. Most white people were dirt poor back in the time of slavery. The only ones who made money were the plantation owners and the shipping companies and stuff, and the money that was traveling overseas. That was it, and that was after we became a country. That 90-year period there, because before that, hardly any of the money stayed in this country. It all went back overseas because it was the British who ran the country. So you can talk about 400 years of slavery, which, we only started landing here, Plymouth Rock and everything like that, 1500, you can say Columbus, 1492, whatever. But you can say 400 years, but as the United States of America, it only existed for 90 years. Not every colony that was here practiced slavery. And then after we became the states, not every state had slavery. So you can't blame all of white America for something that we paid the price for too. So like I said, I'm all for, you go back through all them civil rights cases and stuff, and all those court cases of African Americans being convicted by these fixed juries and stuff like that. I'm all for that. Go back through that, where you can get lawsuits and stuff and everything, and straighten it out. I am all for any legal procedure to recoup damages from what somebody lost because of civil rights violations like that and atrocities. I am all for, this cop was dead wrong what he did. Should be first degree murder and death penalty if you ask me. But we'll see what they do. But anyhow, wish you all the best out there. God bless. We can do all this stuff. We can do all this stuff. There is no reason why we can't do it. They'll throw tons of reasons out there why we can't. But it's all BS when you learn about money and the systems and stuff. Like, we can do it. We can make it work. All right, wish you the best. God bless.